Peter Leach, Senior Editor of the Journal of Commerce, and I'm here today with Peter Shaerf, whose name I have always pronounced Shaerf, but I have been corrected this morning. He is the Managing Director of AMA Capital Partners, a New York investment bank that specializes in maritime deals. Peter, you've written a piece for our annual review about the sword of Damocles hanging over the shipping industry. And I wondered if you could tell us what that sword is and what your concerns are.
Well, it's really the whole overall financial picture, and I think the lack of debt going forward is a huge problem for this industry. The European sovereign debt crisis, the European sovereign crisis, has created an issue where the German banks, the Swiss, all the European banks are sort of cutting back on their shipping loans. The amount of shipping debt or shipping deals that still have to be financed is significant, and one really wonders where the next sort of source of financing is coming. It's not to say that ship finance has dried up completely, far from it. It is available for select people. It is available where there are strong relationships, but in general there has been a significant cutback in ship finance, and therefore going forward the industry is going to need capital from additional sources.
And where will it get those sources of capital?
I think ultimately it's going to come from sort of hybrid securities coming from the debt market. I think you will see private equity step up. We've been looking at a couple of transactions recently where the private equity participants, who are very new to shipping, as they look at it, are sort of creating structured financing opportunities, maybe with warrants, maybe with PIK qualities whereby the interest is sort of deferred. Everything's going to be looked at in a new light, and we don't see the levels of financing from the traditional commercial banks will be there for the foreseeable future. I think, as I say, there will be some financing, but the old days of sort of 70% loan-to-value loans are just not going to be there. So there's going to be need for more equity and, as I say, additional funding to sort of bridge all those gaps.
What about the traditional German partnerships that have always acted, the KG partnerships?
Yeah, it's interesting because AMA has actually invested. We're about to close on a transaction to acquire Lloyd's significant share of Lloyd's funds, which was the third largest, was the third publicly quoted German KG house. The German KGs have really sort of dried up for a while. We think it's going to come back. It won't for sure return to the old levels. We're seeing some KG financing actually coming forward in real estate, in wind farms, in aeroplanes, but shipping is a laggard. A lot of these deals were done in the container ship market. That market fell off. The security of the charters is not there. So it's going to be a while before the KG market for shipping, in my mind, actually re-emerges.
What about the existing debt burden that the container shipping lines have now?
I think
how are they going to pay those off?
It's significant. I mean, we've seen, and I think we will continue to see more and more restructuring. You've seen it with CSAV. I think you've seen it to some significant extent with CMA CGM. You've now had this sort of erstwhile merger, for want of a better word, between MSC and CMA CGM. So I think you will continue to see a sort of sense of consolidation and restructuring among the lines.
What does this mean over the long term for the shipping industry, especially for the container lines?
I think for the long term the cost of money is going to be higher, and ultimately therefore the cost of providing services goes up. So the bottom line for the shipping lines is that their costs are rising, and therefore they're going to have to raise rates. I mean, rates are going to have to stay up to sustain the types of service. I mean, and we get into what we actually discussed in an earlier interview, the new ships and the concept of new ships, and as people build more and more new ships, as in the container space, the race goes on to build the better mousetrap. This money is going to be hard to get.